you, Douglas, and to all our viewers. First of all, I would like to thank you for being with us today and imparting us your inspiring story. So please share with us why you chose to volunteer to LINKS, an organization miles away from your country. Is it something that has always been related to your job or hobbies or past volunteering experiences?
I decided to volunteer to work in the Philippines about 10 years ago, and it really started with my interest in literacy. I taught English for many years, and I was very interested in promoting literacy in the Philippines. And what I started to do in around about 2010 was to start sending books to the Philippines. My interest was kindled by seeing one or two things on the internet to do with Puissant Pinoy originally, which is based in America. And so that's really how I started getting involved. And basically the rest is history, I suppose.
Over the years, you've sent literally hundreds to thousands of books to the schools for the children in the Philippines. How are you able to do that? Do you have a team that works with you or a community that supports you? And how do you encourage them to help out?
I'm very fortunate in the fact that people in Scotland are very supportive of LINKS. And I have a little group of volunteers, around about 6 people, who help me to run fundraisers, they help me to collect books, they help me to pack the books, and then they help me to label the books, and then we get them shipped to Manila. So I'm very fortunate, as I say, with the people who know me, and I've also been very fortunate in meeting a number of people in schools, communities, and the recycling plant locally, who are again very supportive of the need for the books. And they have run things like book drives, they have personal donations, and BAR, the waste management company, allows me personally to take books from the recycling plant. And because of COVID, this is now the major source of books for LINKS, whereas in the past, schools have been a very, very good source of books.
Given that, what are the challenges you've faced doing your volunteer work? How do you manage or deal with them?
Originally, the challenge was actually getting the books. My first send, if you like, or shipment to Manila was 10 boxes of books. And that really didn't take very long to pack the books and to gather the books together. But as time has gone by, we've gathered more and more books. So the challenge really is storing the books, collecting the books, sorting them, packing them, and then eventually shipping them. The last shipment of books was 85 boxes of books to Manila, and in the largest number of boxes we've sent was 150 boxes, but that was before COVID. So it is a challenge. It's quite time consuming to collect the books. I have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go to the recycling plant before the public has access. That's because of COVID regulations, and so I actually personally empty a skip of books, and I can do that in about half an hour. As I say, I have friends who are very happy to help me to pack the books and label them. It's a small team, but it's a very supportive team. They also help with things like fundraisers, and lots of moral support from my wife, for example, has also helped. So.
It's wonderful. So what are your personal guiding principles in helping others? What are your negotiables, or let's say non-negotiables, in the field of volunteerism?
Well, basically, I'm always a believer in actually doing something rather than talking about it. There are many people who like to wear T-shirts. There are many people who like to wear caps, and they like to say that they're taking part in something. But I've never really subscribed to that particular point of view. I've always preferred to actually do something practical. So the sending of books is a thrill in itself. And the consequence of that is that children get to read. Now, as a teacher of over 30 years, my principle was to educate children and to help them to read. So literacy through LINKS in another country is a very, very good thing for me to be involved in personally. And I also think that LINKS has helped many thousands of children to have access to books that they would probably never have had. So that is a very simple principle. The objectives and principles of LINKS are actually quite simple and straightforward as well. The more simple and more straightforward, the more easy it is to actually fulfill these ambitions. If you make them too complicated, they become a bit more difficult. So my guiding principle is the promotion of literacy in the Philippines and also in Uganda as well.
Keep it short and simple. So knowing that you're a person who has traveled a lot, we know you've visited some of the link sites here. What can you say about your co-volunteers? Do you have memorable interactions with our beneficiaries and partners you can share with us?
I think that the people I have worked with in the Philippines have made it very easy for me to actually volunteer because they're very, very pleasant people, very hardworking, very motivated. And that motivation passes to me when I visit, and I can then pass that motivation to my friends. And they, as I say, support LINKS 100%. So that's a kind of a team ethos, if you like, which has been very, very important. It's very difficult to travel to another country if you don't have support in the country, because you often rely on other people to help you in difficult situations or to problem solve. And so therefore I really, really valued the people in the Philippines that I've met, both in Manila and in Baguio especially, and in other parts of the country as well. I've had one or two interesting experiences. One of the most interesting ones was nearly being hit by a typhoon when I was in Manila, and actually looking out of my window to see the children swimming in the street below the hotel, which was quite an interesting experience. I had a meeting to go to, so the cab that came to pick me up was basically floating down the street before it actually picked me up and took me to the meeting. I've been in army trucks going up mountainsides. I've been in islands and watching the native tarsiers and things like that. So it's so many experiences. I've driven in the Philippines, which was a fairly heart-stopping moment, and eventually I decided that I would not drive in the Philippines in case I actually killed someone, and I got. And I'm not joking. So I eventually got a driver to help me with that. And that allowed me to enjoy the travel a lot more. But I would say that generally speaking, that all of the people I have met in my many years of coming to the Philippines, they have made it an enriching experience for me personally. And they've also allowed me to help other people to help themselves. That's the purpose of LINKS, is to link people together to try to help them to help themselves. We don't really believe in dole out, really. We don't kind of do that. We prefer people to take the next step themselves based on what we provide. And I've always supported that in my life. So there you go.
So aside from LINKS, are there other organizations or causes that you support?
When I worked, I never really had any time to get involved in NGOs. My job was quite time consuming, and after work I really just wanted to rest, and weekends were fairly private things. But when I retired and my interest in travelling to the Philippines started, a few years later we got involved in going to Uganda. And we do similar things in Uganda. We help communities. There are two particular communities, one in northern Uganda and one in southern Uganda. And we help the communities by providing food, by providing books again, providing in-service for teachers. And the link with Uganda and Scotland again is a strong one. And we found the same kind of response from the Scottish people to support Pass It On Trust Uganda as there has for LINKS. Most Scots are very generous when it comes to supporting other people, and so I'm very fortunate to live in Scotland where that is the case. But the Ugandan travel experience has been similarly enlightening and similarly enriching as well.
That's truly wonderful. Please do invite those watching us to support your advocacies as well as LINKS projects.
Generally speaking, I have a lot of support in Scotland already, so I post things on my Facebook page. I talk to people daily. In fact, I was talking to two people. One was today, my sister-in-law, and at the weekend, a good friend of mine, Stuart McMurran, who helps me a lot. And we just talk about LINKS and what LINKS is doing. And that message would be even easier to transmit through our fundraisers. But unfortunately, due to COVID, all of the fundraisers have stopped. We used to do local fetes, we used to do bottle stalls. I used to give talks at Rotary Club, various other clubs churches, for example, were very supportive. Everywhere we went, the message was conveyed. Many thousands of people have actually helped LINKS by donating books, by donating in kind, donating to bottle stalls, fundraisers and things like that. So I was talking to two people just the other day, and they were telling me they were asking actually how LINKS was performing under COVID, and I was telling them that a large number of boxes had arrived and that we were in the process of distributing these boxes to new recipients in and around Baguio. And they're always very keen to hear the stories. So if I have an interesting story, I put it on my Facebook page, or I talk to them directly. The only problem at the moment is that the message is a bit more limited because of COVID, and it's a bit more difficult to convey that message to Rotary clubs or to, church groups and various other schools, for example. Thousands of people have heard the LINKS message, thousands and thousands. And when they hear the LINKS message, they respond really well. One example would be a school, Symington Primary School. They actually had a book drive and produced 36 boxes of books in only 4 days. And that just shows you how enthusiastic people are when they hear the story. I gave them a talk. Stuart was there, my wife was there, so we were there to give a bit of PR for LINKS. The response was tremendous. They really, rose to the cause, if you like, stepped up, if you wish, and the response was fantastic. We did another book drive at Mauchline Primary School, and we ended up with 30 boxes of books in a week.
Wow.
30 boxes. That's thousands and thousands of books in a very short space of time. So if the message gets out, and I have the opportunity to convey that message to people, LINKS benefits in the first instance, but more importantly, children in the Philippines benefit by having books put in their hands, and that's what we do. That's what I am really keen to do.
Thank you for joining us today and for continually building bridges from miles away. You have truly made ways in restoring faith back in humanity.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to talk a little bit about LINKS. I'm fairly sure that every volunteer that you ask in LINKS would have their own private and personal reasons for being involved in LINKS, and that's what makes LINKS such a success. We have a range of views, a range of opinions, but we're all focused on one specific thing, and that is strength in numbers. It's a small NGO, but it's very focused and very determined, and also it definitely does make things happen. It definitely causes change to take place. And after all, when you think about it, the future of the Philippines is in an educated population, and therefore it's always going to be the best thing to do to make sure that children have access to books. I will pass one day in this world, but I will always believe that handing the books to children is the most important thing we know.
Truly. Thank you very much, Douglas. Don't forget to visit our Facebook page at LINKS. Thank you very much, all. Till next time.